Hello everybody, Michael with McEwen Gunstocks here. I bet you can't believe to see me post again. Well, just a quick update. I think it's been since August, this last summer. My primary income is from a web development and web hosting business that I've been doing for about 30 years. And it's reached a point where my clients are retiring at a faster rate than I'm able to replace them. And then there were a few months where the mortgage came out of overdraft protection. I realized, oh dang, I better get a job, a J-O-B, like work, a four-letter word. So, I started applying all over the place on Indeed. I must have applied and still do for over 100 different jobs and haven't got a single call from any of them. But thank goodness I'm so lucky to have a good friend at my church that owns a gas station, and he gave me a job. If it weren't for him, I would really be in a world of hurt at this point. And so I'm super grateful for that. But at the same time, it was really depressing to find that I've got a lot of skills. I'm a smart guy, but with a 35 plus year old 2-year college degree in a career field that's now extinct, I don't qualify for anything except working at a gas station for extremely low wage. I'm lucky to be getting full-time employment there, and it's allowing me to barely survive, but it hasn't given me a lot of time to be in the shop. And then this last fall, I had to build an outbuilding, a large 2-story storage shed that another very good friend of mine gave me the components for. He's a contractor, and he had built 2 of these sheds, one of them on spec years ago, and the spec one never sold, so then he gave it to me. But it was just a floor and 4 walls, and I had to basically assemble it and complete an incredible amount of construction with very little time, working full time. So that took several months. That is now finished. And I just spent a couple days out here in the shop cleaning it up and it's still got a lot more cleaning to do, but I've reached a point where I can actually function out here again. And I've got this on-shoots project here. I'm so sorry, Mr. Customer, this has taken so long to get to, but I'm going to do a quick refinish and repair on these 2 stocks we're going to talk about here in a minute and get this tabletop off of the duplicator and get that into the machine and get that cut. I do have a couple or 3 hours every morning that I can work. I try to work for my web clients during that time. I try to get to the gym by 11. I need to be out of the house by 1:45 for my job at the gas station. I get home about 10 o'clock. I get off at 9:30 at night. So I don't have a lot of time to be working, but I'm super excited to be back here in the shop and finally able to perform for you guys and provide those of you who check in on my channel a little bit of entertainment, if you will. I don't know how entertaining it is. Some people think it's kind of mind-numbing, like watching paint dry, to watch me carve or sand. But in any case, let me just tell you what these 2 projects are. I'm going to try to knock out here real quick. This one is some kind of an old firearm. I don't know what it is. I don't have the action for it. It's a family heirloom. It's got a date on here from 1973, and I guess it got loaned out from what I hear and got banged up, and it's got some pretty good gouges and dents all over the place. So I hit it just for a moment with a little bit of sandpaper to see how the finish was going to feel. Before I turned the camera on, did it over this particularly big gouge. So I'm going to sort of lightly sand through the finish to partially expose the wood and the grain. Then I'm going to steam out all the little dents as best I can. And then we're going to sand it all the way back down and finish it. See, here's a pretty good dent right there. But it's a compression kind of dent. I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up. Move it around, try to get the light just right on it. I think that ought to largely steam out, but if we get a sand as deep as that crater, that's quite a bit of wood removal. We'll see how it goes. I think most of these will steam out. This one is more of a gouge than a dent. It looks like there's actual wood that's been removed, but I think steaming will still express that wood out a little bit, and here we got a lot to work with, so I'm not too worried about it. I just would rather stay away from the 120 grit or 80 grit. Hopefully we don't have to go that deep, because then that's a lot of extra sanding. Yeah, I see a dent there and there and there, and a whole bunch of little ones here and here. Yep, they're kind of all over. It seems like somebody treated this family heirloom as a truck gun. So we're going to do that, and I'll turn the camera back on when there's something interesting to show. And then this one came in the other day. This is from a Theoben. Apparently there's no replacement for this stock. And this is what we see so often. Even with expensive air guns, they still use cheap wood. I mean, it's a beautiful carving. Looks like it was computer carved, you know, really nice computer carved checkering is what that appears to be. Maybe it was done by hand, but I rather think not. Yeah, I'm pretty sure not from the looks of it. But it's split right along the grain. You know what we look for in gun stock blanks when we do a custom job anyway, and even when you're out there shopping for a gun, try to pick one out where the grain flows through the weak parts rather than just going straight across where it can split. So this one is split from here all the way to the front of the trigger guard opening, and I can't pull it apart to get wood glue in there. Certainly can't finish breaking it, which would be an option. So I've got an idea of using a piece of threaded rod. I'm going to get a couple pieces. I'm thinking large dowel, drill a hole in them for the threaded rod, a nut on both sides, and be able to turn the nuts to push this apart and see if I can get a little bit of a gap going on there where I can wick some glue in there. Ideally, it'd be nice if I could get enough of a gap to use aliphatic resin glue, like Titebond. But that's a fairly viscous glue, and if I can only get a microscopic size gap, then we might just use cyanoacrylate, which will obviously wick in with the tiniest gap. Might even wick in just without doing anything, but I don't think so. Right now the wood is quite compressed very tightly. I can't separate it at all by pulling on it, so we're going to see if we can just put a little bit of pressure on there, open that up a tiny bit. You know, we don't want to split this down the rest of the forearm, but just a tiny bit of a gap so we can get some glue in there. And then unfortunately, you can probably see the wood doesn't fit correctly anymore once it's split. Things found their own new home, so it's going to have to be sanded and refinished. And of course, we're going to have to avoid the checkering, which makes it a little bit tricky. But the good thing is it does appear to be walnut, so you know, I can't really do a white wood stock so easily, so it ought to go okay. And I see there's a dent here, there's a little divot there. This must have been from when it fell or whatever caused it to break. Oh, now that I'm looking at it, I see there's another crack right here. Oh yeah, that crack goes all the way through also. Well, anyway, we're going to do this one first. It came in first, and it won't take too long. And I want to get both of these off the bench as quickly as possible so that I can expose the duplicator and get back on that Anschutz project. And I'm so sorry it's taken so long, but financially my life was significantly challenged the last 6 months, and still is. I'm barely surviving, but I am surviving, and I think in today's world that is a win. So I'm going to turn the camera off and do a little bit of boring sanding, and once I get these dents exposed and steam them, I'll show you what I'm doing. Okay, so half an hour of elbow grease, and this is where we're at. And I realize that I'm not going to be able to go any further until I get the recoil pad from the customer, because he wants to preserve the writing on the back, so I can't glue a piece of spoil board on here, and sanding without something here means this edge gets rounded off. It's slightly rounded now. I was trying to be really careful. I was thinking I could use an aluminum block with sandpaper on it to get that square, but by the time I'm done, the recoil pad's going to be a little bit proud, and it would just be better if I sanded the stock with the recoil pad so that everything fit microscopically absolutely perfectly. So I'm not going to want to go. I mean, I have you know, at least an hour or two of more sanding to do on this. And the forearm piece is going to take a fair amount of effort, so it's not like I'm totally dead in the water at this point, but I'm not going to go any further than this initial sanding until I get a recoil pad to put on the back, because that's going to then take more sanding to make it fit, and before I can refinish it. It appears, I mean, once I get oil on there, I'll be able to tell, but it appears that just the sanding to remove the finish has removed all the dings and dents, including the section that appeared to be missing wood. So I don't see the need for any steaming at this point. And I can make this observation that I generally experience with old finishes is it's dark, almost like paint. And once removed, this is a very pretty piece of wood. It's got alternating colors, it's got some mineral streaks in it, it's got these little bird's eye bits in there that are kind of, you know, nice little character added to the wood. Not added, part of the wood. So when I refinish this, it's not going to look like it used to look. It's not going to be this dark, and we're going to be able to see the color and all these details in the wood show through the finish, because, you know, I do a hand rubbed oil finish, and it's not going to be a finish that's built up on top of the wood. That's you know, an antique finish that, and by antique I mean old technology, dark colored, further darkened with age, I'm sure. So it's going to be prettier than it was, but it's certainly going to look different than it did. So I don't have anything more to show you on this project for now. I'm just going to keep I'm going to continue sanding all these little details. This part I was able to do with the sanding block, but some of this is just going to have to be by hand, and that is a little bit painstaking. Should be able to do most of this with the sanding block, but again, there's details here that are going to have to be done by hand, and that's going to take a little while. So in the few days or a week it'll take me to get the recoil pad in the mail, gives me time to finish getting this sanded, and once the recoil pad comes, some final sanding to make it fit and take care of whatever little bit of a rounded edge is there. It's almost imperceptible. Really, I can't feel it. It's not like I've caused a problem, but I just know from experience that there is at least a tiny bit of a rolled edge that has occurred, and the recoil pad won't fit the way it used to at this point. So get that going, and you know what'd be cool is maybe it's a metal plate instead of a recoil pad. That would be neat. I like working metal plates. So that's it for this for now, and I'm going to turn my attention to this guy, and I'll turn the camera on when it's interesting. Although if I run out of time today, this might be all you see on this video. But please hit that bell icon if you haven't already, so that you can be notified when I post again, because it looks like I'm back in the shop, and we'll be posting a little more regularly than we have since August or whenever it was last time. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and I'll be back soon.